Hello, I'm Mark.
And I'm Amelia.
In this video, we're going to be looking at the difference between first and second focal plane scopes.
Why would you want to pick one over the other? So in very simplistic terms, in a first focal plane scope, as you increase the magnification, the reticule is also going to increase in magnification and get bigger. In a second focal plane scope, the reticule is going to stay a constant size regardless of what magnification that you're on.
And the reason that happens is the positioning of the reticule. So in a first focal plane, the reticle is placed in front of the magnification ring. So as Amelia's just explained, increase the magnification, the size of the reticle is also going to increase. Conversely, on a second focal plane, the reticle is placed behind the magnification ring. So again, that's going to stay in the same position. If we start with the first focal plane scope, then the benefits really are what we call the holdover positions of the reticule. They're going to stay consistent, so when we look down the scope, we'll look at a target, and as we increase the magnification size, so in a scope like this, the Hawk Air Max, it goes from a 4 to 16 times magnification. As we increase the size of the target, the reticle increases. Also, the difference between the holdover points will stay consistent. So it's really easy that way to keep your pellet consistent at a longer range distance. With a second focal plane, as you're increasing the size of the target, the reticule is going to stay the same. So there's going to be a difference between the holdover points. So the advantage for a first focal plane is the consistency that you get on the holdover points.
I suppose the sacrifice that comes with that, however, is that sometimes on first focal plane scopes, when you're at the maximum magnification, the reticule itself can seem quite chunky, and that can sometimes sacrifice or make it a little bit harder to really zone in and see the target that you're trying to shoot. On a second focal plane scope, that reticule stays a nice consistent size. So particularly with these that have the Hawk AMX reticule, it's very easy to see your reticule and your target at the same time.
And conversely, when you're down at the lower magnification, so let's say a 4 times magnification on a first focal plane, the reticle is going to become much smaller, so it's becoming thinner. Could possibly be a little bit difficult to differentiate the holdover points.
Particularly at different light levels as well. When you have the really small reticule at the lower magnification, maybe on a darker day, depending on your eyesight, you might then struggle a little bit to always see exactly where it's placed.
So when we look down these scopes and we're looking at the different focal planes, the benefit is to be had by the shooter who's going for the longer distance. So once we're shooting out at over 30 meters, for example, it's very important to have the holdover points consistent, because that's really when you start to get what we would call a pellet drop. So the trajectory can start to drop a little bit, so you can be a lot more precise with a first focal plane scope.
And that also brings in other factors, doesn't it, such as pellet weight, calibers, and other reasons why you might be more concerned with holdover points than others. What kind of shooters typically tend to go for first focal plane scopes?
It tends to be shooters who are going out for longer distance. You might be looking for a first focal plane to help you to get that consistency. If you're going up pest control, again at longer distances, it's definitely a scope style to consider.
Whereas the second focal plane scope has a little bit more simplicity to it. It might be a little bit easier to get used to. And also, particularly with sub 12 foot-pound rifles, if you're shooting at a very similar distance, or you're not drastically increasing or decreasing the distance that you're shooting at each time, you might not need the complications that come with a first focal plane scope, and a second focal plane scope might actually be a better choice for you.
Yeah, and this comparison generally only comes in on slightly higher value scopes. The traditional way of manufacturing scopes is with a second focal plane. It's actually slightly less expensive to manufacture that way, and it's the way that the majority of the budget or mid-range scopes are produced. So it's really a question of once you're starting to spend a little bit more money. So tends to be the more experienced or more enthusiastic shooter that would be asking a question like this.
So for people that perhaps buy their rifle as a bundle kit, or are getting a Hawk Fast mount, or maybe a Wolf, maybe Richter Optics scope, and they don't know which focal plane their scope is, it's likely to be a second.
Yeah, second focal plane is the way that most people would learn to shoot, and then first focal plane is very often something that you would grow into as your experience grows.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And if there are any other video ideas you want us to cover in the future, let us know by dropping us a comment below.